Lois and I went to Augustana College in Rock Island, Illinois. I had known her off and on during her sophomore year. I went to school there as a freshman when she wasn't there, and then when she was a freshman, I was in Korea, and then when she came back, she and I would talk together a lot. Well, it ended up that she decided to take a course in chemistry and organic chemistry, and I was the lab instructor, the teaching assistant for the chemistry class that we were in. And I always felt that I wanted to ask her out, but I never had the courage to do so. And one day she came up to me and invited me to go to her Phi Rho sorority dance and dinner. And I said yes. I didn't have a car. I used my dad's car, which I hadn't been using my dad's car, but I knew that for this special occasion, he would okay it. So we went to the dance together and we hit it off. And thereafter, she never dated anyone else and I never dated anyone else. We just dated one another. She was always a joy to be with. As someone said earlier, she never found anyone she didn't like, really. She never said anything nasty about anyone. That, of course, I'm outspoken and I say things I shouldn't say. But what? But she was always, whenever I would say something that wasn't complimentary to someone, she would say such things as, you should keep your opinions to yourself. I don't feel that way about it, and therefore I don't want to hear what you've got to say. But she was a very optimistic person. Her grandparents came from Sweden. Her mother and dad were born in this country, in Nebraska. They came over, they had the land deal in Nebraska. I don't know if they had it in Kansas or not, but if you farmed it, the land became yours after a period of time. And so her grandparents went on a farm and lived there. And when her father was in first or second grade, her grandmother inherited some money in Sweden. And she decided to go back to Sweden to see what was there and to see friends that she had left behind. So they went back to Sweden. Her father went to school in Sweden for up to fifth or sixth, no, I guess it was third or fourth grade. And so he could speak quite a bit of Swedish. And his parents could speak mostly Swedish and not English, so it made it difficult for them. They taught Lois some Swedish while she was still at home. And then when she went to college for her foreign language elective, she took Swedish. And so she took Swedish and she could talk with her grandmother. Her grandmother, when she got older, could only speak Swedish. She lost her English ability, and Lois could communicate somewhat with her, but it was very difficult. Her grandmother had graduated from the University of Lund near Stockholm before she came to this country. So she came from a pretty well-to-do family, and she came to this country, I think it was in the 1860s when Lincoln was still president. So they've been here a long time. They were good parents. They taught her the things that she should like and not like, not directly, but indirectly by example. She was never racist. She told me a story one time that her best friend was a little girl who was black, and she would walk to school with her every day. And her mother told her, why don't you walk to school with some other people? And she said, well, I like so-and-so. and she continued walking with her. But then I guess the little girl got the idea that Lois's mother didn't like her to walk to school with her, so she stopped walking to school with her, and that was one of her big regrets in life, that she had given up her best friend because of what her mother had to say, which wasn't greatly racist, but it was racist. Lois and I lived a very pleasant life together. We had similar beliefs. I joined the Lutheran Church before we got married so that we would have a common background. We were in agreement mostly on politics. She was a lot more conservative than me, but she would listen to reason, and my reason wasn't very far to the left. But anyway, we lived a good life together. She was a fun person to be with. We lived a good life together. She went to work when Laura was third grade. Before then, she'd stayed home with the kids. And she then saw an ad one day in the paper that she wanted someone to help write a curriculum for biology for people that were learning disabled. And she agreed to write the curriculum. And after writing the curriculum, she decided she wanted to teach. So she went back. She had her bachelor's degree, but she went back to school and got her teaching credentials, became a school teacher, and taught for many years. And everyone seemed to think she was a very, very good teacher, and she enjoyed it a lot. But she was a very positive person. I was always a negative person. So we got along pretty well. She would say one thing and I would say but. But we spent a good life together. It was an enjoyable life. When we were getting ready to get married, my dad's brother said, well, the way you want to stay together is to keep close. And one way of keeping close is you never go to bed angry at one another, and you always kiss one another goodnight. And we always practiced that. I think there was only one time she got really angry at me. She threw her house shoe at me one time. But usually we were on the same wavelength. It was a difficult time when she had Alzheimer's. It was difficult. It was difficult when she had to go into a nursing home. But it was a good life. I wish you were here today to be with all of you, because all of you have a connection with her. But thank you for coming.